sanibonani babukeli sinamukele kwintandokazi yohlelo Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Siza kunina la bukhoma kuhamba phambili phela SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Uhleli noMazikhali uMajali ushongololo ngisabukulibamba ngangibiza uAlisha ngangibiza uNhlanhla. Those are all my names. Mbukeli uyasazi kodwa isicefe sokuthi phela ushayelwa ucingo isikhathi sonke ngabantu ongazange wezwa lutho ngabo noma futhi oyimisela ukuthi wenze ibhizinisi nabo. Yebo mbukeli ngikhuluma ngalama telemarketers abazama kwisikhathi esiningi ukuthi basidayisele imishwalense kanye nezinye izinto eziningi singayicelanga. Mbukeli manje ke labadayisi abasezuvunyelwa umthetho ukuthi phela beloko besihlupa ngokuthi basishayele ucingo singalindele. Kodwa ke uma ufuna ukwazi kabanzi ngalolu daba hlala nje unethezeke kanjalo. Ilungelo lakho selifikile. Sanibonani. Yes, Mbukeli, unsolicited marketers who have the liberty of bombarding consumers with all sorts of products, particularly financial services such as insurance policies and other subscription services, are actually now warned to respect consumer rights. And that is, of course, the order from the Information Regulator. I guess is ukuthi bona abathengi bayazi le ndaba futhi bathini.
Awumazi ukuthi uyithathephi akutshele ne-ID awumazi ukuthi uyithathephi lezo zinto ziyasilimaza kodwa ke uma ngabe kukhona indlela ongenziwa ngayo ukuthi bavinjwe laba bantu noma ngabe uyi-political party noma ngabe ubani kodwa kungenzeki ukuthi kuthathwe information yakho even into include i-ID yazo ngomunye umuntu ngaphandle ukuthi wena umnikeze kurongi lokho.
Just the other day, I've got 3 calls from 3 different parties. I didn't even know the parties existed, and they were asking me questions about am I going to vote or now, and where did they get my number? I don't really understand. And then also I get marketing. I already got a vehicle. I've had insurance for about 10 years, and they're all asking me, do I want to go over to their insurance company? And I just feel like I'm being exploited and. Yeah, but if there's steps being taken, I would really like and appreciate that.
You get a call from nobody, or you get an SMS from nobody asking you with your details, and they want to help you. They are selling 1 or 2, so you don't even know who is who. Where did that person go to your numbers from? You understand? So it feels uncomfortable.
Basifune leba address ne business lapha sinde insurance ifuna ukuthi join insurance sinde policy so it's not right because into yokuqala I don't know them so if afuna ukuthi mina ngiyenze application on the phone ngingabazi ukuthi bakubuya kuphi where they are coming from it's difficult because at the end of the day you're going to say yes then they put everything then they say you say you accept you say yes they can continue to do those things sasa azokhala wena
uzothi no angithi kodwa uzoyithola leyo call 087 012 ngo031 ngaleso sikhathi mina ngila ngaseJoburg banizothola icall evela ngaseDurban. So we are not really protected by this act. It would be great if when I do tick a no on the consent for marketing, then please do not call, because then that is actually against my rights as a consumer or a customer.
Kunzima ngempela Mbukeli, asizwe ke manje ukwizivakashi zethu ukuthi phela uzobavikela kanjani abathengi lo mthetho omusha ekutheni bangaziboni bethintwa yilabadayisi abangabazi futhi abaningi. Let's welcome our guest today. We do have Mr. Mukelani Dimba obuya kwihhovisi le-Information Regulator. Siphinde sibe nayo insizwa Andile Ntuli, yena ke ungummeli ovela lapha ya let me just check those ovela Mabhelandile Ntuli Attorneys. Zinsizwa, a very good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Mukelani, let's start with you. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Kunjani Baba Ntuli?
Saphila Alicia.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We're going to talk about what the consumers were saying. I just want to first understand from you, Mukelani. Briefly tell us about office lenu, Information Regulator. Mandate yenu nama responsibilities wenu athini kahle kahle.
Information Regulator uhlaka likahulumeni, that is to say it's an independent agent of the state. Abantu abaningi babe confused bacabanga ukuthi siphuma kwa justice or kanjani sizimele as information regulator si reporter kwi parliament directly. Sasungulwa ngo 2016 ngenkathi iParliament appointa ama-members e-Information Regulator. Okwenzeka ukuthi ama-members baye baqoke abantu abathile ukuthi ibona bazoba ama-members e-Information Regulator, but umongameli uRamaphosa okuyena osayinayo ukuthi hayi-ke sengiqokiwe as ama-members e-Information Regulator, isingaqala ukusebenza i-Information Regulator.
And siyazi ukuthi we've had Advocate Bansi Tlakula la e-studio when you actually launched. So at least manje Mukelani, you're going to tell us about the powers that you are now empowered with, because before besisafuna ukwazi ukuthi kahle kahle umthetho ningawuthatha niwubeke kuphi. But Andile, as a lawyer, look, let's talk about the POPI Act, because abantu abaningi feel ukuthi, I'm sure you heard the consumers kuma Vox Pop, but they feel like they're not being protected by that very act, because these people just continue ukuthi baba fonele, baba SMS, baba sendele ama emails unsolicited.
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Alicia. Lokho is worrying. Ukuthi consumers or potential consumers, batika uno whenever they are asked if they want to receive marketing information, and then they get those calls in any case. That is wrong. Ayivumelekile leyo nto leyo. Because direct marketers in terms of section 69, uma befonela, if mhlambe khona la abayithole khona i-information yakho, uma bekufonela kokuqala, and you say that you do not agree to receive any marketing information, then they must stop. Akumele baphinda bakufonele futhi. So that is concerning, definitely, yes.
But we know ukuthi that is not the practice. Yes, but Mukelani, consumers, as you saw lapha kuma Vox Pops, they're very fed up. And I suppose we want to understand ukuthi i-prevalence yelokhuzana ye-direct marketing in South Africa, how is it perpetuating? Like, where are they actually getting this information that Andile is talking about?
Inkinga isekutheni uma sihamba siye ezitolo siyovula ama-account, siyocela ama-loan ema-bank, ithina esinika i-information yethu kulapho esicela kubona ama-loan or ama-account. Labo fanele bayigade i-information ukuthi isetshenziselwa leso sidingo leso obufike naso obusilethile kubona. Inkinga basekutheni-ke information yakho iye idluliswe inikwe abanye ongabazi ongahlangene nabo. Yilokho ke against iPOPIA leso khuluma ngayo namhlanje. Ithi iPOPIA information yomuntu ayisetshenziselwe leso sidingo leso ecollectwele sona. Kungabe uthola ukuthi mhlawumbe uhambe wayocela maybe loan yokuthenga imoto. Next thing ufonela umuntu okudayisela iholiday eDubai. Kuhlangana. So ilapho ke sithina siyi-Information Regulator sithi lo mkhuba awuphele, ama-direct marketers uma benza umsebenzi wabo abawenze according to imigomo ebekiwe emthethweni uPOPIA.
Andile, I don't know if you explained the section 69. I'd like to understand clause 71 section 1 why the POPIA Act ukuthi when it deals with direct marketing, how does it equate to protection yelokhuzana yomthengi?
Yeah, so Alicia, information wena uma uzoya mhlambe, let's make a very easy example of how amankampani can get hold of information yakho.
Yes.
Kuzokunika isibonelo, mhlawumbe uya wena eToyota, mhlawumbe uyoservisa imoto. Mohamba uyoservisa imoto mhlawumbe eToyota, uzosayina amaphepha ukuthi baservise imoto yakho. Kodwa manje uma usayina mhlawumbe khona ama terms and conditions lapho, and maybe some of those terms and conditions ayasho ukuthi you give iToyota the right ukuthi ithathe i-information yakho nani information mhlambe yemoto yakho and share it nama third parties mhlambe that supply them with products and services.
Yeah. But bakuchazela lokho kulo mniningwane, and I mean before we get into trouble, Toyota is not the subject.
Of course,
yes.
Yeah,
all right, so let's say company A, for example,
yeah,
right?
company A.
So who is the onus upon ukuthi bakuchazele as a consumer ukuthi if you ticking next to that box ethi ngifuna ukuthola information or not, who is the onus upon? Kumele mina as a consumer ngiyifundele or kumele lo muntu lo onginikeza i-service angitshela ukuthi if you tick that box expect ama SMS, ama emails nama phone calls. So you make that choice.
So irresponsible party, lo muntu lo who's going to be taking that information from you, the onus is on them ukuthi bakutshene ukuthi bathatha i-information yakho, nanokuthi ke khona ama prescribed form that are provided by information regulator uma le responsible party mhlawumbe company X mayifuna i-information yakho, they must use these forms that you need to fill out so that you can understand wena njenge customer ukuthi mawuzofaka i-information yakho yini osuke uyifakayo and what can they do with i-information yakho. Yeah.
Now, Mukelani, we know ukuthi very recently, in fact, it was making headlines. The Office of the Information Regulator actually issued an enforcement order. Awusichazela ukuthi kwenzakaleni ukuthi kuze kufike kuleso sigaba. How were the complaints raised? Nifike kanjani kule decision? And what are some of the penalties that are inherent if abantu bephula umthetho njengalaba esenibanikeza enforcement order?
So POPIA usinika amandla ukuthi abantu beze kuthina bazofaka izikhalazo uma besola ukuthi information yabo isetshenziswe ngendlela engekho emthethweni.
Okay.
So kukhona a complaints process. Ungasifonela mhlawumbe inamba izoba khona
Ikhona, yes.
uhlelo maqhubeka. Ungasifonela ucomplain ukuthi hayi ngisolwa ngazi ukuthi usibani or inkampani ethile isebenzisa information yami ngongekho emthethweni. Angizange ngibanikeze information kodwa babhizi bayangifonela. So kwenzeka kanjalo in this case. Futhi singalisha igama ngoba enforcement notice it's very clear ukuthi sasigweba bani ngaleso sikhathi. Inkampani ekuthiwa FT Rams.
Okay.
Esebenza ngokudayisa ama courses nama diplomas into ekanjalo. So inkampani eqeqesha abantu for izinto ezithize.
Okay.
So babe busy belokho beqhubeka befonela i-complainant le yethu yagcina ifikile. Bemfonela bemthumela ama-email. Wazi wagcina seze kuthina wathi ayingani ngilekelele naba abantu ngiyabatshela ukuthi angifuni ukuthi bakhe bengithinta bengidayisela lama courses wabo kodwa bayaqhubeka. So ke amandla esinawo ukuthi siphenye ukuthi kwenzakaleni kuleyo case leyo. Saphenya ke sathola ukuthi ngempela le nkampani le ibiqhubeka ithumela ama marketing messages kwi complainant.
Okay.
Okungahambelani ke nomthetho uPOPIA.
Okay. Ibambe lapho Mukelani, I want to quickly go to ad break so that we can continue ngalolu daba lethu sizoza lama penalties ukuthi what they entail. Bukeli ngizovula ingcingo emva kwekhefu sohlala lapho. Uma njalo basa SMS abenza ini usishayela usitshela ukuthi obani sizoba discipline namhlanje. We'll back shortly after this. Bukele, welcome back. Izingcingo zethu as promised sezivuliwe ke manje. Ungasifonela usithinte la e-studio ukuze ube nawe ube ingxenye yohlelo 0117140671 alternatively 7140672. Our WhatsApp line 0608449857. Alternatively send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Ngihleli lana no Mukelani Dimba ovela e-office le-Information Regulator alongside ummeli ubhodi Andile Ntuli. Bazosicebisa ke mbukela ukuthi umthetho usuzonivikela kanjani under the POPIA Act ukuthi nenze sure ukuthi labantu abanifonela abantu SMS abantu emailayo benidayisela izinto eningayifunanga obani inamba zakho eziningi lezi ngengizisho emoyeni usungaziprotecta kanjani wena ungasishayela ke mbukeli ucingo. All right, so Mukelani, before siya kwi ad break you were talking to us about the recent order enilokhuzile enforcement eniyenze against one of the companies. So qhubeka baba nodaba la.
So bengisathi sase siyaphenya ke emba ukuthi sithole leso sikhalazo from i-complainant and sathola ukuthi ngempela bawuphulile umthetho ngendlela kade benza ngayo, ngendlela basebenzise ngayo i-information yale complainant belokhe beyithinta bethumela ama-email. So
nenze investigation.
yes, there's investigation.
Okay.
Umthetho usinikeza amandla ukuthi senze investigation.
Oh, okay.
Siyakwazi ukuthi sifike even kuleyo nkampani leyo sicela ukubona ama-documents. Sibabiza ukuthi bazofaka ubufakazi.
And
So nje-
subpoena the cold records
exactly,
as well.
exactly. So kule case ke sathola ukuthi umthetho uphuliwe. Sase sikhipha enforcement notice. Enforcement notice ifana exactly nesinqumo senkantolo. Inamandla afana nesinqumo senkantolo.
Nice.
Where sithi khona kwi responsible party or inkampani sesitholile ukuthi uphulile umthetho nase kusigwebe sekunika sona enza kanje wenze kanje ukuze ulungise indlela osebenza ngayo. Ilokho okwenzeka kule case obumbuza ngayo.
So now I want to understand, but Mukelani, because I understand ukuthi before umthetho ubuhlanganisa ukuthi ama SMS nama emails iwona lawa are regarded as direct marketing, but manje ngathi kuthiwa sek-include nalama phone call osichazele kabanzi baba ukuthi bandakenya kanjani manje.
Umthetho awushintshanga. Umthetho lo uyileyo nto nje eyiyona mhla ushawa isishayamthetho eCape Town ngo-2013.
Okay.
Okwenzakalile ukuthi into esiyibonile ngesikhathi uPOPIA eqala ukusebenza, ama-SMS nama-email athi ukwehla kancane.
Okay.
Mhlawumbe angazi ukubona nawe lokho in your own experience.
Yes.
Kodwa ama-phone call ayaphezulu. Uma sizama ukuphenya ukuthi kwenziwa yini lokho, sathola ukuthi kukhona interpretation esithathwe i-industry yakwa-direct marketing. Lapho bethi khona, hayi uPOPIA u-applya kuphela, usebenza kuphela kuma-SMS nama-email nencwadi into enjalo, kodwa usebenzi kuma-phone calls. So bathi uPOPIA uyabavumela ukuthi bafonele umphakathi ngendlela abenza ngayo njengamanje. Kwase kumele ukuthi phela siwu-regulator kumele sithathe inyathelo ezithile ukuze sivikele amalungelo abantu, because umsebenzi wethu lo kuvikela amalungelo. So kwafanele ukuthi sichazise ukuthi lento eshiwoyo ayiyona ihambelani nomthetho. Ama-phone calls angenile la ngaphansi kaPOPIA afanele asebenze in the same way. Kufanele kulandelwe imigomo le ebekiwe kuPOPIA uma benifonela befuna ukunidayisela izinto ezithile.
Very interesting indeed. But Andile, it says ukuthi i-growth yelokhuzana yama-telemarketing companies, we're looking at a 1.53% increase by the year 2028, starting from this year. So, I mean, I suppose there are two sides to this, right? While this move might be highly welcomed by my consumers who are just tired, I know Information Regulator bishilo nokuthi these people cannot contact you after a certain time of day. But to satola abantu bethi ngo 8 ebusuku, I'm getting these calls and SMSs as unsolicited. But then let's talk about and also acknowledge ukuthi telemarketing is not illegal. It's part of business eyaziwayo. But how should then companies best approach this so that it benefits both our consumers as well as bona, so that we don't see them ending up going out of business?
Yeah, yes. So if you look at preamble yomthetho, Alicia, that the act is to regulate the processing of personal information by public and private bodies.
Yes.
And that this must be done in order to protect amalungelo of ama data subject, privacy in terms of section 14. And the act also it provides for the protection of ama rights of abantu that receive direct marketing. Lama call lawo esikhuluma ngawo.
Okay.
Now, but with that being the case, okay, the preamble of umthetho being the introduction of the act also says that it recognizes ukuthi sigwi information age.
Yes.
And there needs to be economic and social progression.
Absolutely.
And therefore, there must be no unnecessary blockages to the free flow of information. So yabona, as much as umthetho protects information,
yes,
it still gives some avenue for a free flow of information within a context economic progression. Now, this is where direct telecommunications come in.
Oh, okay.
They can understand the law in that way, meaning that it doesn't work against them. Ingasebenza nabo, as
Okay.
long as umthetho
Bawuthobela, bawulandela umthetho. And you're going to
Yes.
talk about those macroeconomic factors. Of course, asiyazi ukuthi there is a higher middle class enyukayo manje ukuthi there is a lot more disposable income. So abantu bafuna leyo reach as well. Let's go to the lines. We've got uJohn from eThekwini. John sakwamkela baba ohlelweni umbuzo noma umbono namhlanje.
Hello.
Kunjani baba?
Siyaphila.
Ngiyaphila nsizwa. Go ahead.
Yeah. My question is that we were in the finance industry when this POPI Act was introduced, and we see how our lives have changed in the amount of paperwork that we've got to do, just to make sure we meet these requirements for POPI.
Yes.
The problem I have now is that every second day, I've got somebody phoning me. First, it's a direct marketer. When you try to ask where you got my number from, they cut the call. The second call we're getting is there's a robot phoning now. You can hear it's an AI. You try to say we're not interested, the person is repeating themselves. So obviously I can't ask that person where they got my number from. So how do we deal with this problem?
All right. Okay, Sabonga kakhulu, but John, you know, this is a very interesting aspect, but Mukelani, because I was coming to this, ukuthi in njengobesho but Andile ukuthi we live in a world, I mean, esikhathini se-technology. So the trends are your AI, amalokuzana analyzing customer as well as data nama algorithms. So uyabuza ulokuzana but John la ukuthi how do we deal with these things, because nanka nama robots asfonela ulitshela kanjani robots ukuthi hey, where did you get my numbers? All right, before you answer, Mukelani, I'm going to take a very quick ad break. Siyabuya khona manje, Bukeli, please stay tuned. It's getting interesting. Uma now you are getting those calls from Mama Robots. Do share some of your stories with us. What are they saying to you? What's yini le abakudayisela yona? We'll be back shortly after this. Ungayindawo. Welcome back. You're watching Yilungelo Lakho on SABC 1, SABC Plus, 714-0671, alternatively 011-714-0672. consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungasithinta futhi on our social media platforms and on our WhatsApp line. We are still talking about ulokuzana direct marketing. Mbukeli ukuthi wena uprotecteke kanjani as a consumer by umthetho ukuthi bangalobe kufonela bek SMS ungakazi unike umuntu le number yakho ukuthi bakudayisele izinto. All right, so Mukelani simzwile lapha yana uJohn from eDurban ukuthi ubesabuza umbuzo lapha, and before siye Kevin, you are about to answer very quickly, and then I want Andile to jump in because he's saying something very interesting of air ukuthi even if they do go behind the AI route ukuthi you can't hide behind it.
Yeah, no, I'll let you Andile deal with the AI part of it. But le yokuqala ipart umbuzo wakhe la uqale khona ukuthi wenze njani uma sebekufonela. Okubaleka kakhulu kuthina as information regulator ukuthi sithole as much information as we can ukuze investigate a case. So mabe kufonela sithi please try as much as you can ukuthi uthole ukuthi yiphi le nkampani lo okufonela asebenzela yona.
Okay, so answer that call, get as much information as you want from them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Answer that call. Can I just say something about answer that call?
Yes.
Siyabablocker, angithi?
Yes.
Siyabablocker kakhulu.
Yes.
But basfonela still.
Yes, basebenzisa zinye number.
Akusebenzi. So ukublocker akusebenzi because if you block one number bazokufonela ngenye number. So rather have a conversation with this person yokuthi lalela njengoba ungifonela usuka kuyiphi inkampani. Uyakutshela mhlawumbe angakutshela. Ubusemtshela ukuthi cha angikunikezi imvume ukuthi uqhubeke ungicontact ungifonele. That is to say consent, I'm not giving you consent to continue contacting me. And okubalekile kakhulu ukuthi usitholele usuku nesikhathi abakufonele ngaso.
Okay.
Those are some of the things esiyidinga thina as information regulator. We just need to know ukuthi iyiphi le nkampani bakufonele nini uma ukwazi ukuthola igama lalowo muntu okufonelayo even better as much information as we can get to initiate investigation.
And then when do you initiate this investigation, but Mukelani, is it after one call and then ngamphendula ngacikeka nje uyena because angisafuna phinda ngifonele, or it has to be a volume yama calls ukuthi bangifonela zonke insuku? It's been since January labantu bangifonela seku June manje.
It's not about the volume. Mabekufonelile nje ungabanikezanga i-consent ukuthi bafonele. Xhumana nathi ufake i-complaint ukuthi naba bangifonelile angibazi bawobani and angibanikezanga imvume ukuthi bangifonele.
Interesting. All right. Hey bazothuka ke namhlanje uthi nike lapho but Andile mayelana ne-AI ukuthi abakwazi ukubhaca emva kwayo.
Yeah, no, they cannot. So that is regulated in terms of Section 70 of the Act. And isebenza the same way as Section 69 in that it prohibits repeated attempts to process information where consent has not been given. Shuthi uma uyitholakele call le ifike kwi-computer lena, if bengayitholi i-consent yakho on that phone call, akumele baqhubeke bakufonele even if it's automated service.
Okay.
You see, so if they don't get that consent from you, they may not then process personal information yakho, because that is what's needed from the first call. Abakufonela yon, it's your consent. If they don't get it, akumele baqhubeke bakufonele.
I see. Yes,
ngicela uku-add kulento eshowa u-Andile. Maybe bekufayele sichaze ukuthi uPOPIA uthini about ukufonelwa kwabantu for i-direct marketing.
Yes.
So oqala uPOPIA uthi awungafonelwa. So it's prohibited. That's now the first part of 69, section 69. But ke bese kuba khona ama conditions abekwayo ukuthi kungavumeleka ukuthi bakufonele, number 1, if ubanikezile imvume ukuthi bakufonele. That is to say, once you've given them consent. Or number 2, if uyi customer already la leyo company and bakufonela ukuze bakudayisele i-product noma i-service efanayo nabakudayisela yona before, and it is based on bakutshela ngesikhathi bekudayisela leyo product iqala ukuthi maybe ngelinye ilanga socela ukuthi sikufonele futhi sikudayisele, right? So those two conditions finally apply. But khona le condition yokugcina ethi even if ungalona i-customer labo bavumelekile ukufonela only once ukuze bacela i-consent.
That's it.
So they can call you once for the purpose of getting your consent.
Okay.
That's
and getting consent does not mean ukuthi mengithi hello usuthi sicela i-information yakho sifuna ukukudayisela ukuthi nokuthi kumele baqale bachaze ukuthi bavela kiphi company and this is what they're about. Do I give consent?
Baningi abantu abathi ngavele ngathi hello hayi kwathi i-consent leyo.
Hayibo.
Kuyenzeka lokho. Since people have been signed on to services and products and subscriptions purely on the basis ukuthi waphendula
you picked up the call.
I-call mhlawumbe baxoxa leso sikhashana kwase kuthi hayi ngoba sikhulumile hayi sekuyi-consent. uPOPIA kusho kanjalo. POPIA is very specific ukuthi i-consent fanele ibe njani, fanele ibe kuma-forms akanjani. If lokho kungenziwanga, then kuphula umthetho lokho abakwenzayo.
Andile, maybe do you think there's been enough guidance then to companies, public as well as private institutions, in order to assist them ngelokhuzana to be POPIA compliant?
Yes, Alicia, I think there's been more than enough guidance, particularly, more zongena kwi-internet, more search POPI guidance or POPI compliance. Maningi ama-law firm namankampani that have uploaded a guide that advise companies and public.
So benza ngamabomu ukuthi benze ngathi abezwe.
Yes. These companies, they know exactly ukuthi benzeni, and also nane Information Regulator nayo has also published some guides as well. The guide on the roles and responsibilities of each chief information officer, nane deputy information officer. Nanokuthi kwenziwa njani uma khona data leak, njengoba kwakhona i-data leak lapha kwa constitutional lapha Department of Justice and Constitutional Development.
There was a
huge
huge
done.
No, but she said the problem. So yeah.
I quickly want to go to the callers again. Let's go to Usonto from Davidson. Sonto, thank you so much for joining us. Yilungelo Lakho ungasibuza umbuzo noma ubeka umbono sisi. Siyaphila sisi njani?
Siyaphila nami.
Yes, please go ahead.
Ngifuna ukuthi mina ngithola i-SMS ezivela endaweni engingayazi.
Zithini?
Bathi ngikolota i-TV.
Ukoleta i-TV?
Bathi ngikolota i-TV license.
Oh, bathi ukolota i-TV license?
Yeah, and ngiyisiza mina.
Okay.
Azange ngithengi i-TV. Nanini azange ngithengi i-TV, and that's it.
Okay.
But every month they last week.
I-TV license unayo kodwa wena sisi and it's up to date. Ngithi i-TV license unayo and it's up to date. I have to ask this. I work for the public broadcaster. Oh, awunayo i-TV, so awukaze nje uhlangane nento ethi i-TV license.
I'm not
Oh, okay. And then sisonto mobabuza labantu ukuthi ikhampani abayisebenzelayo yakuphi uthi inamba zakho bayithathe phi bathini?
Ngibabuzela angazi inamba zakho ngizithatha mina. Anginayo ne-TV, angazi nokulala.
Bathini?
Kodwa ngibande bangithumelele futhi any message ethi mandibhatale i-280 rand confirm i-balance yami.
Hayibo. Okay, Sisonto, you know what? Ngiyazi ukuthi ama-producers are going to be in touch with you. In fact, they are in touch with you right now. Sicela ushiyele iy'namba zakho mhlambe bangakusiza lana obhuti Mukelani babone ukuthi bangakusiza kanjani. Bhuti Mukelani, how can you help amanye ama-consumers who find themselves in the same position as Sisonto?
Ngibona ngazi ukuthi le case lo kaSisonto it's more along the lines of National Consumer Commission.
Okay.
Nama-services abo. But into engifuna ukuyikhuluma based on what she's just said, ukuthi kuye kwenzeka ukuthi inkampani le akasithi mhlawumbe SABC.
Yes.
Uqasha ama-contractors ukuthi benze umsebenzi on behalf of i-SABC.
Yes.
Kwa-POPIA kuthiwa u-SABC responsible party, leyo company leyo eqashwe u-SABC kuthiwa i-operator.
Yes.
So kubalulekile ukuthi u-SABC mabeqasha abantu ukuze babenzele umsebenzi. Labo bantu abenza umsebenzi on behalf of i-SABC nabo they should stick to ama-requirements abhalwe lapho ku-POPIA ngoba thina masifika so-investigator i-case sizobopha u-SABC sibophe i-contractor yabo.
Kuzoba ney'nkinga ey'ningi. I'm going to give you a chance, Andile, shortly after this break. Mbukeli, let's take another ad break. Siyabuya khona manje ungayindawo. Sikhuluma ngokuthi umthetho-ke uzokuvikela kanjani wena njengomthengi ukuthi laba abahlale bek-SMS abek-emaila bekufonela bekutshela ukuthi bafuna ukudayisela ama-products ongakaze wena uhlangane nabo futhi usebenzisane nabo uzokuvikela kanjani-ke lowo mthetho. I'm sitting with ubhuti Mukelani Dimba ovela e-ofisi le-Information Regulator nommeli ubhuti Andile Ntuli. Let's go back to the lines. We've got John from Davidson. But John, sakwamukela nsizwa ohlelweni, singakusiza kanjani namhlanje?
Yebo siswami kunjani?
Siyaphila nsizwa wena?
Inkinga eyikhona thina kakhulu singena kuma social media kuyingozi kakhulu lapha.
Yebo.
Ngoba uthola abantu ba-advertise izinto bashiya nama-email address wabo. Mawuthi uya-applya after 3 minutes bayakufonela ngenamba ethi 03031, which means it's KZL.
Yeah.
But yena kutshela ukuthi kuse Cape Town.
Yebo John.
Yebo.
Okay.
So once wanikezela ngamanamba wakho lapha ku social media, ama-scammers azonikezana ngenamba yakho yonke indawo. ngama-different scammers.
Okay. All right. Siyabonga kakhulu, but John, a very important aspect, and to think ukuthi but Mukelani, the Information Regulator office lane ukade libambe conference lana, I think, or is sitting ngama dangers of ilokuzana misinformation and disinformation, yes, particularly arising from the use of social media. And le ayihlangene naloku, but it was more around my elections and but I know but Andile wanted to add to your earlier point before Sia Ekefini, and then we can address indaba kaBut John Davidson.
Yeah, can you just remind me that earlier point with Mukelani?
All right, we were talking about guidance. Was it the guidance to? No. I think we had surpassed that. All right, so we'll get back to that. But Andile, let's now continue. Maybe let's continue based on what John is saying. Ukuthi bona bathatha information yabo as ama consumers from izinto abayithola ku social media. Yeah. So they are actually being solicited even on social media, and they are freely giving this information. So how do we then conscientize them ukuthi bangathathi nabo le information yabo bayifake lapha la bezogcina besebeyithola sebehlushwa ngama phone calls nama SMS?
Yeah, Alicia, now futhi John Mbukeli, the issue is that uma information yakho uyithatha and uyifaka ku public platform, social media public platform. Shuthi uma inkampani ithola information yakho off a public platform efana njenge social media, you cannot chastise them or kwazi ukubapanisha ukuthi bakufonele ngoba uwena oyifake lapha and ufakele wonke umuntu ukuthi ayibone. So unfortunately, ungayifaka wena ucabanga ukuthi yes ufaka ku social media but ufakela mhlawumbe ukuthi uthola i-call ese-KZN, umuntu ose Cape Town ngakufonela, umuntu ose Johannesburg angakufonele anyway because when also fakele information with public domain.
And you've seen ukuthi it doesn't matter ukuthi lezi number ebhalo 031 or whatever. Umuntu you can literally buy. I think we had umuntu from a technology department obesitshela ukuthi how these scammers are actually buying numbers ase UK or plus whatever. Uthola ukuthi umuntu uzobona inumber ya overseas kanti umuntu uhleli la eSoweto eLokuzeni ecafe unibonile ukuthi niyadlula. So that earlier point Andile sengikhumbulile, we were talking about the fact that uBut Mukelani was saying kubalekile ukuthi if companies nabo bazoqasha say service providers or debt collecting companies on their behalf, kumele ba communicate nabantu ukuthi these people are actually working nathi, so ningabaxwayi uma bethi khokhela TV license yakho so that abantu bengezuxwaye. That was the point that we were referring to earlier.
Yeah, so iphuzo mina ebengizolibeka lapho ukuthi umama lo kade fona yena methi iTV akanayo and akazabe nayo and she's never had to then pay iTV license.
Yeah.
The beauty of Information Regulator nane POPI is that I'm an information officer and wonke ama details of la mankampani lawo, they are then made available to the public. So ungaya wena kwi website ye Information Regulator ufike lapha utype igama lelo nkampani, so umama kumele ababuze ukuthi what's the name of the company, what information of mine do you have, because unelungelo ukuthi wabuze ukuthi okay eyipi imininingwane enayo eyami lapho ku system yenu. They are obliged to release that to you if they're compliant in a POPI. Kumele bakunike yonke lo mniningwane and the name of the company, where you can then go search for that information on the Information Regulator page, and you can get yonke information ubone ukuthi ubani i-chief information officer yakhona, ubani i-deputy yakhona, and then you can get hold of those people and actually ask them to release lama records abanawo of you of ukuthi le mali okweletayo, when did you start owing this money, when did you sign this contract. They need to release anything that they have on you, and that you are follow the processes ke lapho ucela lo information le.
So ubona ngokuthi babe economic ngaleyo information ukuthi cha laba shuthi abekho compliant nePOPI. Mbukeli, we're going to take our final ad break. We're coming back shortly after this. Ingcingo zami savuliwe, but please hurry up if usafuna ukusithinta la studio. Yilungelo Lakho, we're back shortly after this. to our final segment. As always, isikhathi siyabaleka uma indaba ishisa and you are participating. Mbukeli sikhuluma lana ngokuthi niprotecteke kanjani, nivikeleke kanjani nina njengabathengi ekutheni abantu balo benifonela ngeinamba ezingaziwa ben-SMSa befuna ukunidayisela ama-products. I'm still with Mukelani Dimba, Executive of for Education and Communication at the Office of the Information Regulator and attorney at Mabhelandile Ntuli Attorneys, Andile Ntuli. Basiza ke Mbukeli ukuthi si-unpack ukuthi wena ungazivikela kanjani. So Mukelani, siyazi ukuthi i-office lane is actually putting together some guiding notes so as that will clearly spell out ama do's and don'ts of processing ilokhuzane personal information. How far are you as i-office in the Information Regulator in this regard?
I-guidance note siphezu kwayo njengamanje sesophothula umsebenzi wokuyibhala.
Okay.
Sizoyilauncha maybe the next 3 weeks or so. Ibaluleke kakhulu i-guidance note because izokwazisa inkampani kanye nomphakathi ukuthi yini ekumele yenziwe, yini engavumelekile. So that sonke sazi ukuthi uma konakala senze njani. So that inkampani zazi ukuthi uma isebenzisa information yabantu ikuphi lapho fanele baqale khona, ikuphi lapho fanele bagcine khona. Kanye nawe as i-consumer, i-guidance note izokunikeza information ukuthi amalungelo ami as a consumer.
And my responsibility as well.
And responsibilities as well. Yeah.
Andile, let's talk about amalokhuzana. Maybe Mukelani will also add into that. Let's talk about penalties that are inherent if kuguthi usuyithola ke usuphula umthetho. Wena njengommeli if umuntu mhlambe eqala kuwena ezocela usizo ukuthi naba abantu bangilokhuza umthathe umyise lapha. How does that whole process work? And penalties then akhishwa Information Regulator athini lapho?
Sure, Alicia. So before kube khona ama-penalty, kube khona qala i-process that's called an enforcement notice.
Okay.
Now, what that means is that that's where the Information Regulator tells you you've not complied with the Act, and we know that you've done 1, 2, and 3 wrong. Now you need to remedy this within this amount of time.
Okay.
So they tell you what you need to do to comply.
Okay.
And should you not comply, that is when the punishment comes in. That is what we find. That is when the punishment comes in. The Act in itself, you know, the way in which it's written, it takes such a long time for you to actually be penalized. This 10 million or 10 years jail sentence, which are the penalties, it takes a long time for you to get there. Instead, before that, before inkampani fika lapho, they are given ama opportunity ukuthi balungise. For example, Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, when they were told what to fix in order not to attract the 5 million rand fine that they attracted.
Okay.
And they didn't fix what they were told to fix in terms of the enforcement notice, and that is why they were punished.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe in closing, Mukelani, I mean, is there a framework that is currently in the pipeline ukuthi mhlambe lama telemarketers mhlambe azoba ne regulatory body la bezokwazi ukuthi if kuukuthi uphula umthetho, we can actually report them directly to ilokhuzana this regulatory body before information ifika kunini?
Zikhona inhlangano kanjalo. Ikhona inhlangano ekuthiwa uDimasa, okuyinhlangano emele wona ama direct marketers.
Okay. But they need to be registered under this body.
They need to be registered under this body. So siyakhulumisana nabo, siyaxoxa ukuthi kunganjani babe ne code of conduct.
Okay.
Ezolawula ukuthi basebenza kanjani as this sector. So kukhona process that is unfolding okwamanje ukuze babe nalo code of conduct.
All right. So lo mthetho is currently in effect ukuthi abantu sebengapenalizwa bathola ama enforcement nani as we've seen.
Uma benenkani sikhona thina ushilo Andile wathi kuthatha isikhathi eside ukuthi uzuthole isigwebo uhlawuliswe yithina, kodwa uma kufika leso sikhathi leso sikhona thina lesinamandla, we have the power ukuthi sihlawulise abantu.
All right, gentlemen, abanenkani, just to emphasize there, Mbogele, unfortunately we're so out of time. Thank you so much for staying with us. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your input today. Mukelani Dimba from the Office of the Information Information Regulator, alongside attorney Ubut Andile Ntuli. Mbukeli, let's also thank you for participation yenu ne input yenu namhlanje. That is where we're going to leave it with today's show. Remember, you can still catch the repeat usibheke laphayana on our social media platforms, and also check on our YouTube channel. This has been a live, of course, production Yilungelo Lakho la SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Ubuhleli nami ke uMajani uMangcolo. So we're going to see you again with a live consumer affairs discussion next week, same time and same place. Wakajala umntana uthi nisale kahle emakhaya.